It can be tough for modern directors to resist making references to their favorite movies or directors in their film, with Easter eggs, props, and even lines of dialogue being planted in their honor.
Come with me if you want to live.
But sometimes it's the sounds of a movie that show where the real influences lie, even if they're nearly impossible to catch. Here are Screen Rant's 10 movies that stole their sounds from other films. Avatar. James Cameron's alien epic was years in the making, with the wildlife of Pandora being one of the most memorable parts. The director originally dreamed up the panther-like Xanator with a script note saying it could even beat a T-Rex, so it's no surprise that it sounds just like the version seen in Jurassic Park. It's not the only dinosaur sound lifted for Avatar either, since the dire horse lets out snorts and barks that fans will recognize from Spielberg's dinosaur adventure. Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. You know it, and you've heard it, even if you don't know what it's called. Easily the most famous reused movie sound effect of all time, the Wilhelm scream made its first appearance in Distant Drums. When the scream was used in Star Wars and Indiana Jones, it became an inside joke for engineers everywhere, and The Lord of the Rings featured a lot of them. Once you notice it, no blockbuster will ever be the same, and it's so overused, there are plenty of movie fans who would probably be happy to see it retired. Jaws. Most movie fans will tell you that it was Jaws that made Steven Spielberg a Hollywood hit, but his first movie about a monstrous beast chasing an everyday man taught him all he needed to know about suspense and terror. Duel swapped out the shark for a murderous fuel truck driver, but it also ended with the truck defeated and a monster's roar added to its death for added effect. When it came to the death scene in Jaws, Spielberg made sure to include the same sample as a thank you to the movie that started his career. Ant-Man. When Disney acquired the rights to the Star Wars universe, fans didn't expect to see the results in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But the story of the smallest Avenger featured an Easter egg that's easy to miss. When Ant-Man villain Yellow Jacket finally suits up, it's his laser cannons, not his shrinking ability, that pose the biggest threat. But if those cannons sound familiar, it's probably the sound of the Imperial AT-AT Walker's main cannon from The Empire Strikes Back buried within them. Star Trek. J.J. Abrams gave a surprisingly believable vision of the future in his Star Trek reboot, but the sounds used weren't so original. Audiences might have missed the fact that Kirk's motorcycle was riding on spokeless wheels, but the motorcycle's sound was an even more subtle detail, especially when you realize you're hearing a remix version of the sound of a flying car in the Jetsons cartoon universe. Blade Runner. The links between both of Ridley Scott's sci-fi dramas have been studied by fans since they were first released, with evidence mounting that Blade Runner and Alien take place in the same universe. The sounds support the idea too. A low humming noise is audible under most of Alien's scenes set in the spaceship's crew quarters, with a more pronounced effect planned for the ship's medbay. That specific sound wasn't used in the finished movie, but the sound editor placed it in Blade Runner, making Deckard's apartment sound almost identical to the Nostromo. Wreck-It Ralph. It isn't just classic games that are paid tribute to in this story of a villain turned hero, since the movie shares a sound designer and mixer with some serious blockbusters. One of those films is Terminator 2: Judgment Day, which explains why Calhoun's gun is clearly making the exact same sound as the laser weapon fired by the T-800s in the movie's opening scene. On top of that, the sound effects made when opening the vault in Cyberdyne Systems' lab is also translated into the animated movie, when King Candy hacks into the code of Sugar Rush. Turns out, it wasn't just video game cameos fans had to watch out for. Star Trek Into Darkness. If there's one director J.J. Abrams has pointed to more than any other, it's Steven Spielberg, whose vision of the future seen in Minority Report probably played a role in creating the same near future of the rebooted Star Trek. The sci-fi story of cops who stop crimes before they're committed even got a shout-out when Khan crashes his ship into San Francisco. Listen closely to the alarms and sirens playing as Khan starts to flee the scene. Apparently, the pre-crime cops were the first to respond. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. This prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark dealt with plenty of dark magic, including human sacrifice by way of a burning hot lava pit. When Indy's new leading lady is the next to be sacrificed, she gets a front row seat to the opening of the pit. But listen closely and you'll hear a familiar sound. It isn't just the stone doors being opened, but the unforgettable sound of a lightsaber igniting. Specifically Darth Vader's saber in The Empire Strikes Back. Man of Steel. Zack Snyder's take on Superman was a very different one from what fans were used to, but the sound team made sure to include one major Easter egg for fans of the original George Reeves version. When filming The Adventures of Superman in the 1950s, short scenes of Reeves flying across a sky blue backdrop were used, with the sound of rushing wind to sell the scene. Special effects have come a long way, but that same wind sound effect is included when the new Man of Steel takes flight. It's hard to hear, but the sound designers confirm it's there for those who know what they're looking for. Those are the best sound effects borrowed or hidden by blockbuster directors that we could find. But can you name any that we missed? Let us know in the comments, and remember to subscribe to our channel for more Screen Rant videos like this one.